Welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're diving into what is, without a doubt, the most vital, foundational mythic story in all of Middle-earth, the tale of Beren and Lúthien. We're talking about a time when the world was much younger, the shadows were way darker, and the stakes were, literally, the fate of all living things.
So, what is the greatest, most impossible love story in the history of Middle-earth? Well, we are about to explore a tale of a mortal man's love battling an immortal doom. It's this incredible story where radiant, unfathomable light confronts suffocating, absolute darkness head-on.
Part 1. The Outlaw and the Maiden. To really grasp the gravity of this romance, we first need to understand the sheer tragedy of our hero's origins. After his father was killed thanks to a cruel betrayal by Sauron's forces, Beren became a solitary outlaw. For 4 brutal years, he wandered the untamed, ruined lands of Dorthonion entirely alone. He befriended beasts, ate no flesh, and lived right on the razor's edge of survival. The evil pressing in on him got so immense that he was finally forced to flee south, traversing horrors that would drive a normal man completely mad, until he finally breached the magical borders of the hidden kingdom of Doriath.
And it's right here, in the safety of Doriath, that our story truly turns. A broken, weary, completely exhausted Beren stumbles through the woods and comes upon a sight that changes Middle-earth forever. He sees the immortal Lúthien, daughter of the Elven king Thingol and the divine being Melian, dancing under the moonrise. Instantly, all memory of Beren's pain just vanishes. He falls into an absolute, unbreakable enchantment.
The emotional and cosmic weight of their meeting is profound. The text perfectly captures it, saying, "In his fate Lúthien was caught, and being immortal she shared in his mortality, and being free received his chain." Lúthien, literally the most beautiful of all the children of Ilúvatar, chose to bind your immortal fate to a doomed mortal man. The stakes could not possibly be higher than that.
Which brings us to Part 2, an impossible quest.
So, Lúthien's father, King Thingol, was absolutely furious upon discovering this romance. To get rid of Beren, he devised a bride price that was effectively a death sentence, a Silmaril. Just to recap, these are 3 shining, hallowed jewels containing the very light of the world. The catch? They are currently set directly into the iron crown of the Dark Lord Morgoth, guarded by Balrogs, countless armies, and unassailable walls. Thingol basically tells Beren he can have Lúthien's hand only if he brings back a Silmaril. Yeah, no pressure.
But Beren's reaction? It's legendary. He actually laughs right in the Elven King's face, declaring, "For little price do Elven Kings sell their daughters, for gems and things made by craft." Holding up a magical ring given to his father by the Elven King Felagund, Beren accepts this doomed quest with astounding defiance. He sets off to challenge the God of Darkness himself.
Part 3. Sauron's Pit of Despair. Now Beren knows he can't do this alone, so he seeks the aid of King Finrod Felagund. But the threat escalates rapidly. First, they head north in orc disguise, only to be ambushed by Sauron. This leads to an epic, magical battle of songs, which, unfortunately, Sauron wins. Thrown into a pitch-black pit, a werewolf begins slowly devouring their companions one by one. It culminates in King Felagund heroically bursting his bonds and sacrificing himself to slay the beast, saving Beren's life, but leaving him trapped in total despair.
Meanwhile, Lúthien refuses to just sit idly by. Imprisoned by her father in a giant tree to keep her safe, she literally weaves her own hair into a cloak of shadows, puts her guards to sleep, and totally escapes. Along the way, she teams up with an absolutely incredible ally, Huan, the great hound from the Blessed Realm. He actually lets her ride him like a steed as they race to save Beren.
When they arrive at Sauron's Isle, Huan delivers an absolute masterclass in battle. First, he silently slays Sauron's wolves, one by one, at the bridge. Then, he overpowers Lúthien, the dread lord of werewolves. Finally, Sauron himself transforms into the mightiest werewolf the world has ever seen. But, with Lúthien casting a spell of drowsiness, Huan actually pins Wolf Sauron by the throat. Sauron is forced to surrender the Isle and flee as a vampire. Lúthien then uses her song to tear down the Dark Tower's walls and free Beren. Part 4. Infiltrating the Dark Fortress.
Reunited, Beren tries one last time to convince Lúthien to turn back, but she refuses. Accepting they can't be separated, they turn their sights toward Morgoth's ultimate fortress, Angband. But to cross the blasted wastelands undetected, they need a terrifying disguise. Huan brings them the ghastly wolf fame of the fallen werewolf Lúthien and the bat Felco of Sauron's vampire messenger.
Clad in these dreadful garments, the lovers transform into literal monsters to sneak right up to the gates of hell. Just consider the staggering odds here. On one side, you have two exhausted lovers armed with nothing but a disguise, a magical song, and an elven knife. On the other, the dark majesty of Morgoth, armies of Balrogs, and impregnable walls towering 1,000 feet high. Their extreme vulnerability against this suffocating might is exactly what makes this story so breathtaking.
Part 5. The Price of the Silmaril.
After sneaking past the giant demon wolf Carcharoth at the gates by magically putting him to sleep, they descend into Morgoth's nethermost hall. Right before the Dark Lord's throne, Lúthien's disguise is stripped away. Standing totally exposed before the greatest evil in the world, Lúthien does the impossible. She weaves a song of such surpassing loveliness and blinding power that it quenches the very fires of hell. Morgoth, overwhelmed by the weight of his own malice and the magic of her voice, falls prone upon the floor in a deep, heavy slumber, his iron crown literally rolling from his head.
Then everything happens in a flash. Beren draws his knife, Angerist, and successfully cuts one glowing Silmaril from the iron crown. But greed strikes him. He tries for a second. The knife snaps. A shard grazes Morgoth's cheek, and the host of hell begins to stir. Fleeing in absolute terror up the stairs, they find the giant wolf Carcharoth awake at the gates. Beren bravely holds out the holy Silmaril to ward him off. But Carcharoth is unfazed. He lunges and bites off Beren's entire hand, taking the hallowed jewel into his own belly, where its holy fire drives the beast completely mad.
Venom courses through Beren's veins. Death is imminent as the hosts of Morgoth wake up. But just when you think it's over, total despair is miraculously averted. The mighty eagles, summoned by the faithful hound Huan, swoop down from the heavens right in the nick of time. They lift the exhausted lovers out from the jaws of death, carrying them high above the ruined lands, safely back to the borders of Doriath.
After Lúthien uses her magic to heal Beren's poisonous wound, they finally return to King Thingol's throne. Beren kneels and declares he has fulfilled his oath. When Thingol asks to see the jewel, Beren holds up his severed right arm. From that hour, he named himself Camelust, the empty-handed. I mean, technically, he held the Silmaril in his hand, it just happened to be inside a rampaging demon wolf. Thingol's mood is softened, realizing that Beren's spirit is truly greater than any mortal man.
Which leaves us with a final thought. If a single song and an empty hand can challenge the greatest evil in the world, what limits can truly be placed on love? Beren and Lúthien achieved what armies of elves could not. They walked into the heart of darkness and brought back the light. Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking questions, keep studying the lore, and I'll catch you in the next one.